David Collste is a post-doctoral researcher at the Stockholm Resilience Centre at Stockholm University. David works at the Planetary Boundaries Research Lab, where he studies feedbacks between human development, the economy, and planetary boundaries. He is a system dynamist in the Earth for All initiative. And David, the question to you is, what is the novelty of Earth for All?
So listening to Sandrine and how she explained how this project worked with the 5 necessary turnarounds, we're working with a system dynamics model. And that's a way of, so to say, quantify system thinking, where the relationships between the human world and the nature and the nature world is interrelated in the model. And the model is developed by Jürgen Randers, who was also one of the co-authors of the Limits to Growth back in 1972. The model that we have is providing a transparent way to see how different relationships and assumptions ingrained in the model can be shared and tried by different people. You can look at the model, you can work with it, and you can try different assumptions. We see it as a consistent framework illustrating the 5 turnarounds and the ideas behind the whole Earth for All initiative that Sandrine introduced. So in that sense, the model is not a final answer, but rather a tool to provide questions and ask what-if scenarios. How do these different things interrelate? And when it comes to the human dimension and nature, we really see that looking back on decades and centuries, how human population have grown exponentially due to better conditions for human life. But now we see that this is being counteracted by people choosing to have fewer children in rich countries. But also at the same time, economies have grown significantly. So we see that both the population and the economy is driving environmental pressures on the planetary boundaries that we really need to stay within. But it's important to highlight that the interrelations between the human and nature now in the Anthropocene are so important that we cannot neglect it. We cannot look at one side. We cannot look at nature in itself or the population in itself, but we need to put them together, and that's what we're doing in this modeling endeavor. One insight from gathering data and working with this model that we have gotten is that it's only below a certain income threshold that we see great achievement of income providing capabilities and human needs for people in the sense of educational outcomes, poverty eradication, and so on, and limiting hunger and so on and so forth. But above around $15,000 per person in income, we see that these benefits of income is levering off. And this is why we're reaching a state where we need to focus more on, instead of growing the economy at all costs, to focus more on creating a well-being society. We need to find ourselves at home, as has been highlighted by Catherine Trebek from the Wellbeing Economy Alliance. So countries with high incomes need to shift away from focusing on incomes to focus on good lives. What is good life? Less stress maybe, more education and better lives for all. When it comes to environmental science part of the model, we see different kind of pressures on different planetary boundaries. Climate change that we talk mainly about today is of course very much related to the aggregated economic activity. But we can also see that by shifting to renewable energy, shifting to eating less red meat and so on, we can see that the effect can be limited, as well as looking at different ways to downscale our economies. But the difficult nut to crack here is, of course, to shift from one environmental harmful activity to something else that is less harmful, but also that does not affect other of the planetary boundaries. Because nature is one, and nature's boundaries are absolute. So I want to raise the fact that we're focusing on carbon very much today, that what Anders said in the opening session, and that was confirmed by Susan Chomba as well, is that poverty is persisting. And that's why we really need to look at these questions as interrelated. The climate change is harming those worse off, those living in poor countries, the most, while they are not responsible for the situation we are today. But now we need to work together. We need to work together to realize these 5 transformations that we have proposed by the Earth for All initiative and that are illustrated with the modeling work that we are working with. So we need to tackle energy and food transformation, but also inequality, poverty, and crucial, women empowerment.
Super. David, thank you very much indeed. This is a very bang, 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 bang session. So we're now going to move on to the next guest. But thank you very much indeed.